When Trump returned from a $2 trillion Gulf tour, expecting a handshake from Canada, he got a cold shoulder instead. Why did Ottawa slam the door just as Washington rolled out the red carpet? And what secret deal did Canada quietly seal while Trump was busy in the Gulf? In today's episode, we uncover the political chess game, the billion-dollar clean tech moves, and how the electric vehicle, EV revolution, is powering a new global alliance without Trump. Trump's Gulf tour, a $2 trillion gamble. Former President Donald Trump's headline-making $2 trillion Gulf tour was framed as a masterstroke of diplomacy. Meeting with energy magnates in Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, Trump aimed to revive American global influence, build fossil fuel alliances, and project economic strength ahead of the 2028 U.S. elections. On paper, the trip was impressive. Arms. Deals were signed, energy contracts were extended, and new joint ventures were announced in sectors like defense manufacturing and oil infrastructure. But buried beneath the press conferences and photo ops was a critical flaw. Trump's plan ignored the green energy revolution. As he courted oil kings, the rest of the world, especially key allies like Canada, was sprinting toward decarbonization and EV manufacturing. Trump's Gulf tour reeked of a 20th century mindset and a 21st century war for clean tech dominance. Canada's strategic pivot: quiet, calculated, clean. While Trump shook hands with oil sheikhs, Canada was shaking up its alliances. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or his successor depending on your timeline, was already negotiating a massive green deal with Nordic and East Asian partners. The centerpiece? A cross-border clean energy pact focusing on battery production, EV innovation, and rare earth mineral supply chains. The Canadians had learned from earlier dependency mistakes during the pandemic. Instead of relying on the US, they were diversifying, working with Sweden, South Korea, and even India to secure battery-grade lithium, graphite, and cobalt. Ottawa's silence during Trump's Gulf media blitz wasn't apathy, it was strategy. As Washington leaned harder into fossil fuels, Canada slipped out the back door and signed a better, cleaner, and future-ready deal elsewhere. One that would make it a global player in EV exports by 2030. The EV gold rush. Why Canada? Chose the future electric vehicles are not just about cars anymore, they're about economic sovereignty. The country that controls EV supply chains will control global trade. Canada, rich in raw minerals, has long been sitting on an EV gold mine. But it wasn't until recently that Ottawa decided to fully capitalize on it. Partnering with automakers like Volkswagen, Hyundai, and even Chinese startup BYD, Canada is rapidly becoming a powerhouse in battery cell manufacturing and clean tech R&D. The deal sealed during Trump's Gulf tour, rumored to be worth upwards of $300 billion, includes the construction of 4 new gigafactories in Ontario, subsidized by both government and private capital. This isn't just good for the environment, it's a political message. Canada is choosing green energy not just for climate, but for competitive dominance. Washington under Trump is doubling down on fossil fuel diplomacy, while Canada is aligning with Europe and Asia on clean tech. This divergence could have real consequences, from tariffs on EV components to disputes over critical mineral exports. Even US states like California and New York are reportedly reaching out directly to Canadian firms, bypassing federal channels, to secure green partnerships. That means America's clean energy-friendly regions may drift closer to Canada, while Trump's base drifts further into the fossil-fueled past. In effect, North America is being split not by geography, but by ideology. And Canada? It's playing the long game, leaving the oil diplomacy to others. What this means for Trump, Canada, and the EV world. Trump may have returned from the Gulf with billions in deals, but Canada's quiet rejection exposed a bigger truth. Global leadership today isn't just about who signs the biggest contracts, it's about who's thinking 10 years ahead. Canada, by ditching Trump and betting on green tech, is positioning itself not only as a clean energy innovator, but also as a diplomatic kingmaker. EVs aren't just cars anymore, they're political tools. They dictate trade policy, environmental reputation, and technological dominance. By sealing a better deal with future-oriented allies, Canada signaled it is done playing second fiddle in the North American alliance. The rest of the world is taking notes. Meanwhile, Trump's fossil-fueled fantasy might look lucrative today. But in a world racing toward electric everything, his vision may soon feel like a relic of the past. The ripple effect. How other countries are reacting. Canada's quiet but seismic move hasn't just rattled Washington, it's turning heads worldwide. In Brussels, EU leaders praised Canada's pivot as a model transition toward economic and environmental synergy. In Tokyo, Japanese automakers like Honda and Panasonic are fast-tracking talks with Canadian suppliers to establish secure EV battery chains, fearing they'll be left behind in the North American green boom. Even countries in the global south, like Brazil and Indonesia, have taken notice, hoping to replicate Canada's balanced approach between natural resource management and high-tech industry scaling. What's remarkable is the contrast. While the US, under Trump's leadership, is re-embracing oil alliances with an almost nostalgic fervor, Canada is writing a playbook for sustainable global power. Their message is clear. This is no longer just about environmental virtue signaling. This is about commanding the future economy. Those who control the green chains today will be the economic superpowers tomorrow. The economic stakes. Canada's EV bet versus US oil focus. By ditching Trump's fossil-first vision, Canada isn't just making a climate statement, it's betting on a high-stakes economic future. According to government projections, Canada's new EV and battery plant initiatives could generate over 500,000 jobs in the next decade, with $200 billion in export revenue annually by 2035. And that's a conservative estimate. In contrast, Trump's Gulf strategy focuses on shoring up traditional fossil revenue, which, while still profitable, is shrinking rapidly under global climate pressure. In fact, countries like Germany and China are already phasing out internal combustion engine production, and even oil giants like BP and Shell are investing in EV infrastructure. Trump's alignment with oil producers may bring short-term political capital, but Canada's EV investments promise long-term economic sovereignty. Imagine two North American futures, one burning oil, the other building batteries. Which one do you think the next generation will invest in? Corporate realignment. Who's backing Canada now? Corporate boardrooms aren't blind to this divide. Tesla, once fully planted in the US, has begun diversifying its raw material sources and has quietly opened negotiations with Canadian lithium suppliers. Volkswagen's $20 billion gigafactory deal in Ontario was not only the largest in the province's history, but a signal to European and Asian firms that Canada is the next frontier for EV production. So what does this all really mean? Canada's rejection of Trump's post-Gulf outreach wasn't just a diplomatic snub. It was a declaration of independence from an old energy regime. It was a bet on a world that values lithium more than oil, innovation over nostalgia, and sustainability over short-term wins.